All right, good evening, everyone. The time is 6:30. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the October 10th, 2022 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Mike Boisvert won't be with us tonight. Mike Droon, will you sit in for him? We have no public hearings scheduled for tonight, so we'll start right in with new business. The first item of new business is Howe Distribution LLC applicant and Utsi Properties MHT LLC. It's a review for a recommendation to the planning board regarding a final approval of a site plan review to construct a 340,000 square foot warehousing building and associated site improvements. The parcel is located on Crow's Nest Circle in the I-1 Industrial Aquifer Conservation District. Tax map is 2D, lot 21. If you gentlemen would, before you tell us about your project, just state for the record your name.
Good evening. My name's Matt Ruth here.
Do you have a green, I'm sorry, do you have a green light on?
Matt Ruth here from TF Moran.
Nope. Oh, he's making, it goes from green to really, really green.
Oh, there you
Thank you, Andy.
go. Matt Ruth here from TF Moran, representing the applicant Howe Distribution LLC.
Ashok Rampuria, I'm the owner.
Good evening, board members. What we have in front of you folks is a proposal for this warehouse. The current parcel we're looking at is 18.35 acres. It's currently vacant. It is located in the Aquifer District. And we were here before the planning board, I believe it was last week, was it? And we had gone over the proposal, which I'll give you a brief summary, pretty much similar to what I did to those folks. So what we're proposing is we're proposing this, and I'll zoom in to give you a little clarity. This warehouse, it's 359,698 square feet. Part of that is mezzanine on the second floor, about 20,000 square feet of mezzanine. We're proposing two entrances. The one closest to Mass Road, we're proposing for a trucks to access in and out of the site, and the access at the end of Crow's Nest Circle would be for vehicular access only. Due to the nature of the site and the soils, we are intending to infiltrate all stormwater runoff. We are proposing an infiltration basin, as you can see over here, next to Mass Road, that will take pretty much from the vehicular entrance in the center of the building and the pavement down, and the front portion of the proposed warehouse roof. The remaining rear portion of the building roof and the remainder of the parking heading towards the north will be captured in numerous infiltration systems located under the pavement. You can see those highlighted both to the north and underneath the concrete loading dock areas. We're proposing, this site is connected to municipal water, and we're proposing 4 individual leach fields under the pavement, which are represented by these particular areas here. We have run across a particular plant of concern. That is the only item that was noticed by the state. It is a clasping milkweed. And I myself found it in a couple spots, and the proposal is to relocate as the standard over on the upper portion uh, of the detention basin where it will remain untouched and protected. So with that, I will open it up to the board for any questions or comments.
When, do you go back before the planning board?
We do. We are addressing comments now, and we have to resubmit on the 18th, which will
18th.
put us on the November meeting.
All right, so 18th of November or?
18th of this month for the November
Okay.
meeting.
Who would like to go?
I'm sure you've been before the board before, so this is probably familiar to you, but invasive species is a problem here. So I keep an eye out for hay. There's a lot of mention of using hay throughout your plan for mulch at various points in the construction. We would prefer straw to hay. Also, this is just a typo. I suspect it's from boilerplate language, but on page 26 of your notes, it refers to the plan being subject to town of Amherst regulations. Of course, we love Amherst dearly, but please make sure it's Merrimack.
Yes, we have some housekeeping items.
And also, on page C2, one of the general notes, 18G, says, invasive plants shall not be transported off-site. They'll be dealt with on-site, which is fine. But on page C4, note 6, it says invasives shall be removed from the site and disposed of. That needs to be resolved.
Okay.
And I might have, thank you
Thank
for
you.
providing this. I did get a copy of the stormwater management plan. Usually there's a one chart summary in there that shows the pre and post summaries.
Yes.
I don't think this has it, right? Does each
We
post
had-
catchment area have its own? Is that why?
We had submitted an updated one, which maybe they didn't provide you. We provided a updated one with the table.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Do you have that? Can you just maybe read it or summarize it for us?
Let me
It's
see
just
if
there is a lot of impervious surfaces here, and it looks through grading and so forth. Those are contained into those post catchment areas.
Let me see if I can. We have no increase as far as runoff. We've calculated, again, the site is relatively flat and a hole. So there's really no portion that leaves the main portion of the site. That's the reason we're infiltrating. The only portions, and again, we're matching or reducing, would be the discharge point would be the vacant property to the west. There's a slight slope that obviously goes down to that wetland complex. There's also a very small section to the north that tapers off to the Anheuser-Busch property, and there is also the roadway culvert underneath Crow's Nest Circle,
Okay.
which takes pretty much that pile of fill area located along Mass Road and sends that way. The soils are all excessively drained, to moderately drained. We've done about 40 test pits. There's been borings. So we're matching, pre and post as far as flows on all those study points. There is another culvert with a flared end section that's in the right of way of Crow's Nest Circle, which carries a very small portion, like a sliver of the front of the site and the road that's going that way. So those are our study points. And there's also a very small depression located adjacent to the railroad tracks at Mass Road, where pretty much the berm along the railroad tracks kind of flows
Right.
down. But
And that's probably pre-existing.
yes.
But all the post numbers show a decrease from
Yes.
the pre numbers. Okay.
Yes.
Since we don't have that, I'll probably just in our memo to the planning board just outlined that was something that was important to us.
Yes,
those
we've again, because of the nature of the site and the lack of, I guess, topography, everything for the most part.
And there were a number
sewer.
of septic tanks. Was it 2 or 3 on one of the site plans it was showing?
Site plan, we are doing 4 fields. We're assuming now at a current thing of about 8 units, whether they're broken up or not. We're planning for the 8, but they may be combined. So there was a tank, 1 tank for each unit, and then we were going to pump to those fields
Okay.
in the back with the 4 foot of separation in the ground.
So there's no connectivity to the treatment plant.
No,
No.
the sewer is actually on the other side of the treatment plant, on the back side towards the river, so there is no access to sewer for us.
Okay.
Thank you. You just anticipated another question.
Who else?
How many of those plants are there?
I counted maybe 6. They're all in areas of disturbance. They were some located in the actual right of way of the road. So those have obviously regenerated since that road was finalized construction, and I believe it's 2018. They did the as-built for that Crow's Nest Circle. And again, it's because of the sandy soils that they've only taken hold in a couple spots that get sun most of the day. That whole property is pretty much secondary growth. It's been logged and cleared in the past. And again, nature kind of finds its own way in some circumstances. So
Do you know how to transplant them properly?
yes, we have a letter prepared. We haven't finalized yet because we're finalizing the site plans, but we are intending to submit that to Natural Heritage for their sign off. Which again, it's typically fall. You have to wait till they get smaller and then relocate them from there. So that's on our list of.
All right.
Good. All right, so you're in the aquifer protection zone, and you make it there's a couple notes in here about the fertilizer being 20-20-20.
Mhm.
And those areas in particular, in its proximity to the Merrimack, no phosphates. And we'd recommend highly that you just test the soil first, because you may be over fertilizing. So the test is a lot cheaper than buying fertilizer.
Sure.
So it might be worthwhile to just see what you need there to start with. Is that all one lot? Are you subdividing that lot?
No, that was a lot of record, I believe.
So that Crow's Nest Drive kind of bisects it?
It does. There's a lot to the north, or the west actually.
Yeah.
And then our lot is to the east. So that was subdivided at the time
Okay.
that road was done.
Well, it just, I looked in the plan, didn't really have it in the lot number. I was just wondering if it was one. And thank you for including the Snow Pro language in there. Appreciate it.
It's pretty standard these days.
Well, you'd be surprised. I'm glad you think so, but we don't see it all the time, so thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, well, thank you for presenting this. We'll make sure I'll get a letter back to the planning board with our few pieces of feedback about straw and no phosphate fertilizers. And I'll get it back to them this week.
And
Sure.
milkweed.
And the
No,
milk.
no,
Excellent. Thank you. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you for coming.
Thank you.
And if we needed another reason why we prefer this room to the other one, I think we just found it. This was the first time we've actually had it in front of us. Is if we reacted strangely when you started, that,
Oh, yeah.
that was why. It used to be just here.
Yeah, they're very nice. I can't argue against them.
All right, that brings us to our second item under new business. And that is the consideration of a wetland permit by notification application from VHB on behalf of Fidelity Real Estate Company The application is for the site of Fidelity Investments located at 1 Spartan Way, tax map 3C, lot 191. And if you would, sir, just do the same thing and state for the record your name.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Mark Borostic. I'm a senior project engineer with VHB in Bedford, New Hampshire. I'm here tonight on behalf of Fidelity. They get my. Sorry. Here tonight on behalf of Fidelity Investment. They are proposing to do a maintenance project on an existing fire pump vault on their campus just off of Industrial Drive. So this is just a site location map to show where the project is behind one Spartan Way building. There's an existing pond here that is essentially a fire pond for them. There's an existing vault. Underground vault in this area that has water intake lines that provide fire protection for their buildings. And they need to replace some mechanical equipment in the vault. And while they're doing that, the water intake and return lines that go into the pond, they've had some experience in the past with leaking around the pipe, so they want to pull those pipes out and repair them to seal those up properly. So we've prepared a permit by notification application to install a temporary coffer dam. Just pull up the site plans here. So this is the location of the existing underground fire pump vault, and we're proposing to install a temporary coffer dam in the pond so they can dewater between the intake and the coffer dam to perform the work in the dry, and then obviously they'll remove the coffer dam and restore the water in that area. They expect the project may take three to 4 weeks to do the repairs inside and repair the pipe penetrations. And we filed this as a permit by notification with New Hampshire DES Wetlands Bureau. We have approximately 50 linear feet. I measured that along the center line of the proposed coffer dam, and there's roughly 335 square feet of pond bed disturbance associated with the coffer dam. The coffer dam itself, we've coordinated with the contractor, and this porta-dam product is what they are proposing to use. So it's a metal framed structure that goes in the pond, and then there's a membrane that gets placed on the outside, and then they dewater behind it. And that allowed them, I think, quick setup and removal of the porta dam.
Is this something DES regularly sees or uses?
This porta dam specifically,
Or this type of, no, not this company, but just this type of,
I am not sure what DES sees. I've done a couple of other projects. I've done one up on Nrpc where we actually drove sheet pile coffer dam. I've seen sandbags. I've seen different ones. And this is just a proprietary product that the contractor.
yeah, it just seems a pretty low impact.
Right. Right.
And did your proposal outline too, how is it, how does this put in place? Is it a long stick excavator that sits on the shore?
I would have to check with the contractor on that. I mean, I think they'll have to go into the water, obviously, to to bed it on the bottom of the pond. I'm sure they'll have some sort of an excavator, lifting the pieces into place, and then they'll, I'm not sure how they lay out the fabric membrane itself.
Anyone else have any questions? Now, you already had a number of the signatures, like New Hampshire DES had already.
Correct.
And you're hoping to get this done this month, I take it, since it said September, but
Yes, the intent is to start in the next week. Yes,
and it's all temporary. There's no permanent.
correct.
Yeah, I mean, this looked pretty straightforward to me. There was not a
Yeah.
whole lot of, yeah.
Yeah, it's really just part of a maintenance
I
project.
thought that was the packet.
Lost one. All right, yeah, we'll, could you just spell your last name too?
Sure, it's V as in Victor, Erostick.
Okay, I will, I have the 4 copies. I'll leave them for community development in the morning. I think one goes in our record, one stays with the town clerk, one for the planning board, one for the town council. Soon one of these makes it back to you.
Sounds good. I can coordinate with community development.
They'll have them. They'll know how to, which one of these you're supposed to get. I know they all take original signatures. We learned that the hard way last time. I'm sure you did. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item we had under new business is the NHACC conference, annual conference, which is held in, will be held on November 5th, Saturday, November 5th at Pembroke Academy. There is a registration deadline, a pre-registration, so it's significantly less expensive if you register before October 22nd. Included in your packet is a list of the different breakout sections or work sessions. I know Mike's already identified a few that he wanted to go to. The process for this is pretty straightforward. You can go and register. These come out of Fund 51. Isn't that true, Gage? Yeah, it comes out.
This is one of the things we actually
have
This is one of
budget.
the items that are budgeted for the MCC.
So what we've done in the past that's worked fairly well is if you want to go online, and I would do it sooner than I wouldn't wait till October 18th because some of these do fill up. Some of them do fill up, and some of them are small groups. I think some of them are groups of the year I went. Some of them were groups of 20. Others, or they do in an auditorium or something, so they're much bigger. But if you know which ones, and I'd ask, a lot of us have been to one of these before, and sometimes it is the same one. Obviously, Conservation Commission fundamentals. If you're new to the commission, or just feel like that one's always pretty popular, and that is one of the bigger group ones. But go on and register, and then email Stephanie, maybe copy me on it, and just let her know that you've registered, and she'll write one check and cover whomever is going.
Mark your registration that you're gonna pay by check. And then we group everyone's registrations together and send them one check.
But yeah, did anyone have questions, or you thought you would go, Mike?
I'm interested.
Yeah, they're usually well attended, and if nothing else, it's constructive just to go and you talk to other Conservation Commission members from other towns and hear some of the things. You'll probably hear some things that are familiar. And
I participated last year in the online version, and I really wished it were live so that I could have some give and take, so I'm looking forward to this back.
it's even lunch is a learning session because you gain some best practices, learn.
You don't know who you're sitting next to.
You don't know who you're sitting next to.
And Mike, if you go, I'd love to hear what you're going to, and maybe we can, take different ones, but my ignorance is pretty broad here, so there's a lot I can learn. A lot I can learn here.
Anyone else questions about this? All right, we'll keep going. The next item is the MCC annual presentation and report. So we did include last year's report in the packet. And most of you probably saw this, just to give you, this goes in the town annual report. But we don't try to do anything real fancy with this, although it generally is a lot of effort, usually going meeting by meeting through the minutes and try to call out, not everything we did in the last year, that would become really, really boring. But just to call out those things that we felt like were most important or that we spent the most time on. Obvious ones, chapter 111. And a lot of them are probably ones similar to some of the things we did last year. Along with this, from this document, this 2-page document, we'll create our presentation to the town council, which we do on November 20th, I think. It's November 20th. So shortly thereafter, we'll create that, and we'll use this to create it. So what would be super helpful, like Mike, maybe you have a couple pictures from Winter Carnival. I looked through my phone and shockingly, there's not one. So, I mean, if you could give me one of those, if someone had a picture of the seedling giveaway, I have an identical number of pictures of the seedling giveaway in my phone. So share with me some of these things. I know the gentleman from UNH that was doing, he shared a few pictures, which I didn't include in the packet, just because he asked that we give a certain accreditation, credits with those when we share them, but I'll include a couple of those.
I've asked Tim Boland to give us the current fund balances. I guess that's the end of the fiscal year balance.
Is that what we've used?
That's
Okay.
what was in this one, so I
Yeah.
assume that's what he's after.
So, well, I guess what I'm asking, the reason I put it on here, if you have ideas or one photos or things, feedback that you would like incorporated in both of those items, the presentation and the annual report, no need to email them to the group, just email them to Ellen and I, and we'll work those things in, just to make sure we don't miss something. Eric,
Also,
pictures of the LSIP
Also
walking
make
the-
sure if your subcommittees have received help from any groups, Sea Cadets, for instance, make sure, if you can email that to Steve and me, we'll make sure that it gets into the report. I want to thank the groups specifically for what they've done.
That's a great point, Ellen, because that is always a risk. I always feel like we want to recognize everyone that's donated their time, contributed their efforts, but I'm always afraid that we're going to leave out somebody inadvertently. Any questions on those two items? All right, next item under new business. Number 5 is the annual Land Conservation and Investment Program Survey. Wasserman, Eric, you want to talk to us about that?
Okay, so so every fall we do a walk of the Wasserman Park. Well, Wasserman Park. I don't have to say the Wasserman Park, just Wasserman Park. We do this as part of the Land Conservation Investment Program. We put together an annual monitoring report. So what we basically do is we walk the boundaries of Wasserman Park. We search for boundary encroachment, make sure no boundary encroachment has been happening. We search for man-made alterations, whether we did them or someone else did them legally or illegally. So construction, trail making, timber harvesting. We also look for natural alterations, such as invasive species, erosion, or any sort of notable species of concern we might find. And we put this in a report, and we do this every year. Now, I believe, Dave, I don't think, because you joined in January, so I don't think you've been on one, and you were on one last year. Okay, I wasn't on one last year, but that's it. So now we really just have to find a date. Every date in the past few years have been somewhere between October 23rd and November 10th. So that's the span of time we're looking for. Saturdays and Sundays are obviously the best. I prefer Saturdays, but it doesn't really matter. It usually takes place in the morning. I don't remember what time frames, but usually something like 9 to 11:30, something like that. So today, we should just find a date. The Saturdays coming up are October 22nd, 29th, November 5th, and November 12th. Sundays, day after each one.
Now, November 5th is the Conservation Commission conference, so.
Yeah, we should avoid that one. These have been a lot of fun, and just if you haven't participated, we will schedule this. We'll put it on the schedule so everyone will, members of the public are invited to come to, but we've always made sure we got it on a schedule just because we always have a quorum at this. Not that we're handling business outside of the LSIT walk, but it's usually enough fun that even when the weather was horrible 2 years ago, we still had a pretty good turnout.
It's just cold, so.
Well, anyone following you is going to keep moving.
20, is anyone got the calendars up? 29th work?
10:29,
Okay.
10 a.m. Is that
Unless someone wants to go earlier. We meet in the parking lot of Westman. The one as you go down on the left.
10 a.m. on the 29th?
Sound good for everyone? Should I put it in the right phone?
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. All right, next item. We've got item number 6, Sklar Waterfront Plan. Mike, you want to talk to us about the highlights of that? You've got a whole contingent back here, huh? We know most of you, but just so would you just state for the record your name?
I want to make sure I get them spelled right,
Yeah.
so be patient with me.
So I'm Allison Mitchell, and that's Alison. Mitchell.
Tom Martinson.
Okay, I don't know where you want to start. So we all have, and thank you so much. I mean, this really helped us kind of connect the dots and see, I know a lot of time went into preparing this. It helped us kind of see what your vision was, what things were important to you in the plan. We've all got a copy of it in our packets, so we've read through it. So I don't know, how would you like to, Mike, do you want to guide them through discussion? You want to just tell us which of these items were, how you arrived at some of these priorities, what is most important to you, how you'd like to see the Conservation Commission help?
Right, well, I thought what I would start with is, thank you, Steve, and Mike's not here, he's already given some feedback. I thought maybe the best thing to do is go through your questions, answer your questions, any concerns, open it up. If whatever your questions weren't answered there, and then take it from there once we resolve any of your comments or questions, if that works for everyone.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, and I'll even do some of the small housekeeping ones, but so to begin with, we did reference Horse Hill in this a couple of times. We have fixed those edits. That's pretty much, we've never written proposals like this before. We're not experts, so we used Horse Hills as our template, so we apologize for that. But any errors like that you've seen, we've scrubbed through and taken all of those out.
Including the one for Greater Woods? Including the one for Greater Woods?
Was there one for Greater Woods in
Yeah.
there too?
The
Oh,
what?
shoot. No, I got the Horse Hill. See, I do search and replace, so that's why I didn't get the Greater Woods, so I will look.
Yeah,
Where was
the trail design, future trail creation, trail modifications, you listed the bullets. You got to reference the Greater Woods in there.
Do you just have the page number? Are you at it?
7.
7. Okay, thank you. Thank you very
Which, if
much.
you're reading
we're
between the
trying
lines,
to-
indicates this isn't the first time someone's borrowed someone else's.
Oh, no, that's exactly.
I was just gonna say, we were trying to disguise the fact that we were like.
There's no shame in
plagiarizing.
that.
No, we're borrowing. We're
Borrowing.
taking from great work and adding to it. Yes. So there was questions on, we have not included the maps of the trails at this point. And part of that reason is we were trying to do the maps using CAT. One of our other team members here, Katie, is actually an architect and has all of those applications. So we are trying to get the
we gonna-
original, and she has, you've gotten, what now, Katie? You've gotten,
I reached out to the National Regional
What?
Planning Commission.
Come on up.
And we may be able to help you tonight
Yeah,
with this
that's what I say.
item. The next,
okay.
Yeah.
the next item on our agenda is I don't want to put the cart before the
Yeah,
horse.
but I
We
just,
may
yeah, I still want to do a
approve
lot of
some
work.
funding
Yeah,
to help get a map created by Nrpc.
Okay,
Can I have your last name, please?
Little.
Thank you.
Yeah, Katie, Little. Yeah, so I reached out to the Nashville Regional Planning Commission and Ryan at Nashville Regional Planning Commission, NRPC. He was able to export layers directly from his GIS program, but he was unable to get me, I think, the roadways. That's the last piece of the puzzle. But I think he'll be able to get me what I need to just map so we can at least show like parking dimensions and basic identifiers of the site, like the entrance and the boat ramp. So just to kind of get a basic map in place for our own use. So that's what I was trying to achieve so that we could at least start having conversations about where things are and having conversations like this at the commission meetings. So that was my goal, and I think he'll be able to help me with that. So I heard there was also a proposal in place for a request from the National Regional Planning Commission to repair a map, which
yeah. If you look at all of our properties right now, all the maps we have are all done by Nrpc.
okay.
So we have an association with them. We do work with them, and we try to keep that data fresh. So before you spend a ton of time trying to
Yeah.
do this on your own,
Yeah.
we're gonna. I'm assuming, but we're probably going to say, yeah, we're going to go do another new map. So
Okay.
that would be, but it's very helpful to have someone who actually understands the layering process and can do that too. So
Yeah, I don't know
maybe-
how professional it'll look, but it's something that'll at least help us get started with
Yeah.
what
perfect.
we need to talk about it at our meetings and amongst ourselves. So it'll be a helpful communication tool, and I think that if we're able to get a map from the National Planning Commission, that would be helpful as well.
So are you familiar with Merrimack GIS?
I looked at the website, yes.
Yeah.
I tried to export different layers from the website because you can save PDFs, and I
Right.
tried to convert them. It didn't get me where I needed to be.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good reference for,
No, we used to be able to export maps from that. So I
yeah,
didn't,
you can export PDFs. So we could have, hand-drawn things on top of it, but having things
Right.
in a CAD format is helpful.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Just a few of the other smaller type things. Thank you, Steve. We did take out all the names, realizing this is, look at this for historic purposes too. It's not a time to pat people on the backs. That can come other places. So we've cleaned that all up and taken all the names and things out. There was another thing that was confusing, was we talked about the two trails that we have at this point, the Riverview in Eagles Bluff, and yet we showed a picture that said Ferry Trail. Mike picked up on that. And we had one small part that was Ferry Trail, but when we looked at the whole property and how the trail went, we have one trail that really starts in the town property line and goes all along the river. So we've renamed it and made that the River Trail. And we're still doing the Ferry Trail when we're going to connect the Eagle Trail to the River Trail that will get down to the ferry. So we did realize in the picture we happened to have was the sign for the Eagle Trail. We just have not yet made the sign for the Riverview Trail. So that I know was confusing to some people when they were looking at that. One other little housekeeping is we mentioned BMP. People were saying, what the heck is BMP? It's best management practices. So we've reworded that section. So I don't believe we have any more acronyms in there that people are like, all right, I work in a different industry. What the heck is that? So we've cleaned that up. The only other thing in here that I got questions on, which I know you, or I believe you guys have talked frequently about, was the parking. So in here, what we have at this stage in here is the 2 parking areas that we have now. One is for cars, that is right at the trail entrances, which is across from the airfield. And the other is after the bridge where you go around is where we're talking about that trailers could be put. Although we know that's going to be difficult, people, the way things are getting trailers up there. That are the 2 current parking lots we have. We are still in, that I think the whole commission is aware of, we're still in discussions on the other needs. So one of the things that we will be moving forward on is the discussions on how we're going to resolve more of the parking issues. Because it's part of it is people getting down towards the riverfront and where can we, and I know we've talked about, do we do something over at the town and other places. But the other issue with it is I think all of you know, and for the years when I've been going down there, where trucks and cars and different places go, we want to make sure that we have parking that's accessible to everyone, that prevents these people from driving up on the beach. I think we had somebody that had to get towed again, a couple of weeks ago because there wasn't parking close to there, so they'll go and they'll park and bring their vehicles wherever they see space. So that is one of the things that we will have in our future plan is we're still looking at other resolutions and other proposals for what we do with that parking. But in the plan, we only have those 2 parking stated because that's all officially we have at this point. So those were the questions that Steve and Mike had. Are there other questions or concerns or issues or things that you had questions on? Yeah.
And I apologize if some of these are repeated. I wasn't on the original distribution. And so I received a second hand. So if you received any of this, just tell me, hey, we already got this and we've got this covered. In the introduction, it says part of this master plan will include modifications to the town-owned parcel. I don't know that the commission can say we're going to modify town-owned property.
I don't believe we have any memo of understanding or anything with the town to operate this as a single parcel.
Exactly.
So
And
we can, we just need to go to town council and get
Right.
that.
And I think that also, there's some comments in here about the Flying J area
Yeah.
that is also town-owned property as well. I think either that needs to be resolved through the town or that needs to come out of that, because right now the conservation only has jurisdiction over the conservation land it owns.
Yep.
Did you say that was in the introduction?
Yes.
Yeah, on page 1.
Okay.
So it's the 3rd paragraph.
You mentioned the Horse Hill Nature Preserve. The underage drinking, it says activities not allowed, underage drinking. And I guess it was curious to me, and I thought, do we really need to call this out? Because I think underage drinking is just period not allowed, not on Civilar Park.
I will admit that was a plagiarism part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't allow alcoholic beverages on MCC parcels, and the town doesn't allow alcohol on town parcels. So
Maybe should we reword that?
it just
to
says
no
there's
drinking
there's
versus
no alcohol.
underage?
Yeah, there's no alcohol allowed.
No,
Well,
no.
I was going to say, I apologize, I didn't get my comments out, and I don't mean to cut you off, Andy, just because you were talking about this one. I don't know that we need to put anything in there, recent activity no longer allowed, because it was a private parcel. So we don't know what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. I mean, there were things that were happening maybe, but, we don't really know. So
Yes.
I would just take out that whole
Because
section.
if you talk to the Scholars, they were never allowing people to go down there 4-wheel drive, but
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
were.
But
So-
I think when you talk about what's not allowed, it's covered in chapter 111, correct? So I don't know that we need to
Need to call it
restate
out
that.
Yeah.
I'm not against restating, except for the underage drinking seemed kind of weird for me. But there is a document that the town maintains that says these are the activities not allowed.
Yeah, and it was just recently accepted, so it would be
It's
very
just
easy to
updated.
reference that and now they'll always match.
So we could just consistent with the.
Exactly.
One of the other suggestions I had was pictures of the parking. If I've never been to Sklar, that picture doesn't really give me a reference. And I was just, one of the suggestions that I thought of was maybe it's better to put a picture of the map and a pinpoint to say, here is parking, versus just a picture of a parking area that I don't know if it's at the beginning or at the end of the property.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the pictures in the back, just have a little locus map, which is what we do with all the parcels, you know, anything, any user activity, any bench, any parking, any access point. It just has a marker on the map. So once the map is done, that'll get solved.
And you mentioned you would remove the names. I think the only other suggestion that I had that is the insect portion is blank. I mean, if there isn't anything there, you know, let's just remove it or.
That was one of those where we're not professionals in it.
Yep.
We don't know much about insects to put it in, so yes, I will remove that.
And then I'll be curious to see the updates when the names are removed, but that was one of the comments that I would have had as well, is let's pull names out of there and make this a standalone document to stand the test of time. So, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Wendy.
All right, page 2. You make reference to the boat launch, which is fine, and then we can reference it there. But again, that's a town parcel.
That's again in the town.
So it's we can make comments to it all we want, but it's not part of our plan unless the town says we're managing it. So you can, you know, we can make reference that it's
And
there.
that's addressed in a couple
Yeah.
of places.
And we might want to call out the actual restriction size of the bridge, because I would just think, well, this is on page 2. It says boating large and small, but the access down there is obviously restricted by that bridge, and you know, that little space. That might be worthwhile just giving a height or something like there, so people know that they can't get down that road.
Within height?
Yeah, some type of height and width, saying that you just, you know, because this is going to become public at some point in time. People are going to say, "Oh, I'll bring their stuff down there." If they get a trailer down that road, I don't know how they do it, but if they did, they'd have a hell of a time trying to get out of there. So we might want to try to short circuit that. Picnicking, I would just, you know, people can be down there for breakfast as they want. There's no need to limit it to lunch and dinner. Or something. You know, people can be down there anytime they want. Yeah.
And carry out.
Yeah. And I know I'm not criticizing you. You guys grabbed a lot of data from some other sites. We might be worthwhile to reference some of the places you've grabbed this data from, because if we're going to submit a document to be the public, I don't want to have someone accuse us of being, you know, plagiarism. So it might be worthwhile to just note where you found some of this information, either like in the resources in the back or something like that. Now, this will be great once we get especially once we get a map, it'll be helpful to start. You know, like you said, you start making this trail, and all of a sudden you said, oh, once you see it on a big thing, you go, oh, you know what, that was silly, we should have done something else. So it's going to be very helpful to have a big map. That's going to be good. So thank you for guys putting this together.
I have one go back. One of the things I saw in here, it says no motorized bikes, but I believe in chapter 111, we said class 1 electric bikes were allowed. So we just want to make sure we call that out, so it's in accordance with chapter 111.
Yeah, that's the same. It might be just as easy just to reference the restrictions are per chapter 111, because then they'll always match.
Yeah. And the way we did chapter 111, they can update the appendix
Right.
to chapter 111 without doing the whole thing.
Right.
And so if you reference chapter 111, it's always going to be up to date.
Right.
Good point.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so about the references to the town parcel, we definitely want to ask permission from the town for a what's it called?
Memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, the road, the town road's the only driveway, is the only way to access the property. All the parking areas are and have to be on the town parcel. So, and plus a lot of the land that people hike on is on the town parcel. And if we're not gonna maintain it, then we're gonna have four-wheelers blowing in from the railroad tracks. And other things. But it'd be very helpful to know all our efforts of cleaning and stuff are not for nothing, I guess.
We'll have to get with the town, you know, how they wanna manage that parcel. If they wanna try to make, cause it's obviously not, the whole town parcel is used multiple different ways. And, you know, the conservation parcel is not going to be used multiple different ways, so it's, we're gonna have to get some type of official MOU in there. And I would put it right in this document, because then a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll know where it is. Because I know I can't put my hands on the one right now that we have for the outdoor classroom up in Greater Woods.
Oh, is
We
there
have
one for that?
But I don't know where it is.
So did you develop that?
The MOU? No, we did it with the town, but that was Andy, was at the time. The other, not you, Andy, the other Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Well,
Lauren was 8.
yeah, maybe you can coach me on that. Not.
Yeah, no,
you
we
know,
just got.
I don't even know who you'd start with. Would we start with Matt Kasparius to draft some of that?
No, because that's not Matt's property.
No.
I mean, that's under town auspices right now, so I'd start with Andy.
Well,
That is you, Andy.
but I think we need to have discussion, just this group too, to see,
Yeah.
do we really want to manage that part?
Yeah.
Do we want to be, I mean, we can't obviously do a lot of stuff ourselves with the roads and everything, you know. Do we really want to take over the management of that area? Some people, yeah, if there's trails, right. I mean, you don't need probably an MOU to pick up trash, but, you know, do we really want to take on?
Could someone else be better equipped in the town to do that?
Yeah. But if we're gonna call out parking spaces and parking, you know, we should make sure that the town is in agreement with what we're calling out.
And I agree. I think if the commission comes up with a specific ask, you know, this is what we would like to enter into. This is what we're willing to do, not willing to do. I'll be happy to take that to the town and push a MOU through the town. See what, you know, what the council agrees on, doesn't agree on.
Well, again, thank you. We can tell a lot of work went into this.
Yes.
I hope we didn't feel like a speed bump of this process. Like, you know, as stewards of, you know,
Yeah.
these funds, these Conservation Commission funds, we felt like we just wanted to see what the vision looked like, not just for next week, but for next month and going forward. And this really certainly gives us that, puts us on that azimuth. We can see where you wanted to go with that. So appreciate that, everyone else too.
Oh, Allison, one more thing for housekeeping, just for my own curiosity. Do we have the figures for Flying Eagles? When was that lease? Do we know yet? I just want to fill that in because that's,
It's like 30 years ago.
yeah, because it was done before I moved here, I think.
I
Okay,
think we've chased that detail before.
Okay.
I'm not sure that.
It's out in the
And
ether
there's-
somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever been re-signed.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some, oh, that was one thing real quick. You make a comment in the very beginning about a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, something like that, in the very opening paragraph. I just put a date in there because next year it's not going to be 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Okay. Okay.
The first 2 years of the subcommittees exist. I just, you know,
Yeah.
when it was founded, so it's real.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Now, is this going to be conditionally approved, or do you want them to come back next month?
No, we definitely don't need to take another. No.
It's just nothing really, we need to approve it or just accept it.
I'd like to see it again before we approve it.
Yeah.
I don't know that we approve it.
We're gonna need some input from the town, so we're gonna need
Yeah.
some more information, because I mean, it's gonna have to have
Mhm.
parking. It's gonna have to have access. We need to get some type of official understanding of the town.
Mhm.
How it's, sorry, and how it's gonna be managed.
Yeah.
Now, second thing, it's fall, it's slow season, and the subcommittee wants to start working on the first year plan, whatever they have in here. So, are they gonna get the support to do that? Or are we gonna be waiting a couple months for this to get final approval?
Yeah, so what
I
page is
can't
it?
find
15?
Yeah, 16.
No. It's 1 to 3 year projects on page 16.
Well, obviously the boat launch would be
Yeah,
off
not
that.
that.
And, yeah. So I guess what would be the ask? The road would not be us, that would be the town.
So the picnic area, we sanded down all the tables, sealed them up a few weeks ago. But that's continuing maintenance. Invasive species, we'd like to start taking a crack at that with the Merrimack River Watershed Council. Trails, stuff like that. We'd like to fix problems with the trails.
What's the
They're gonna-
disposal, what's the disposal method for the invasive?
Leave them on site. And I wish Merrimack River Watershed Council said that we should bury it under something like a mulch, about a foot of mulch after cutting it. And that should take care of it.
The stumps, bury
The,
the cutting, or
The knotweed.
bury the cuttings?
So it's one big patch right now.
Yeah.
So basically,
Cut it
Chop
down,
it up,
and then
cover it.
cover that, but what do you do with the cut stalks?
right there.
Oof.
Moving it's pretty risky.
Oh,
'cause
yeah. Yeah.
One leaf flies off and now we have a new patch to deal with. When we,
Yeah, because that's what they told, when we did it up at Clara Drive, they said, it's gotta lay it out on top and let it sun dry, because it can't, no part of it can get in touch with the ground again, it'll start growing.
and it's,
So, if you're
It's
saying
becoming
you
a-
bury it now,
no, put soil on top of the existing site or mulch or something like that.
okay,
Um,
I'm not gonna argue with them, I just,
but I'd put a tarp over it. Cause to
Gage,
get
they did
soil,
say, for your question, they did say when we were walking around, yes, the cuttings to put on a top, let them dry out.
right, okay,
And
and
then,
it's just,
yes.
cover what you cut, cover
Yeah,
the stump.
Cover the
That's-
stumps with the
Mulch,
marsh,
okay.
mulch and
Right.
things.
that's gotta be taken care of, cause now it's spreading to the trail system and the road, and for some reason, it's plowed down there. We don't know who does it every year, but that's gonna push it to other sections, and it's gonna be a lot more work. So,
So
also,
if you're saying, you'd like to know what the commission can do in the first year and you talk about invasives, are you saying that if this is approved, you'd be looking for town resources, or just can the subcommittee go ahead and do what it's been doing?
well, if we need, say, a tarp or something like that, and we come here, we'd like to support. If this plan takes 2-3 months for final approval, we'd like the support before then for these minor things.
So, I mean, I could speak on behalf of myself, not the entire commission, obviously, but I mean, if someone came here and asked for supplies to do some of these things, I would be more than happy to support it. Traditionally, what's happened is those requests have been combined with a $15,000 storage shed or chainsaws that are not allowed to be operated. And so those requests haven't been approved in the past. And what's unfortunate is, you know, this commission, although I think would probably support efforts like that, has been singled out and accused of not supporting the efforts that have been going on down at Scholar. And I don't think it's entirely accurate, but I think when those requests are combined with unreasonable requests and they're not supported, then that's exactly what happens. And it's unfortunate because the people that are calling this commission out are part of this commission. And so I personally, I would be more than happy to support those efforts if it's reasonable and if it's a good use of the town's funds, because we are all stewards of the taxpayers' funds. So if you come and ask for gloves, tarps, things like that, be happy to support it. If it's a $15,000 storage shed, I'm not going to support it. I can't speak for the entire commission, but that's where I stand personally.
But the biggest project will probably be the trail system. We managed to revegetate all of the illegal roads throughout the property, but it's starting to unvegetate because it seems a new group of kids found the property and is really ripping it up now.
Have you reported it to the police?
They have a camera there now.
Okay.
How many reports? Has there been one report and the police put up the camera? Is that what I'm hearing?
Residents are starting to call the police about it.
Okay.
Good.
And there's also a lot of people, hunters, shooting next to people that are walking the property. I think there should be a sign put up.
Who put up the camera?
The police department. Their name and numbers written on it.
So you don't have no hunting signs up?
We don't have any signs besides the no motorized vehicles.
Okay. Is there a no hunting sign in the kiosk
We have one no hunting sign in the office
that's available?
that's available.
There's one. And
I went through hoping to find more useful signs, but I did
Yeah.
find one no hunting sign that's in community development.
All right. I'm good to take that.
and
I don't think anybody else has a claim on it.
You could order more.
Is that no hunting down there or no discharge of
No.
target shooting?
It's
No
hunting.
discharge of firearms or bows.
Scholar's no hunting.
It's no hunting.
No hunting in particular, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if you get temporary signs, if people are out there shooting where people are walking and it's a no hunting property, that is a major problem.
And they blessed the animal carcass on the trail as well a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a no-no at any time.
And I believe even if hunting was allowed, it's illegal to hunt from a trail that's publicly used. So double breaking the law, so I guess.
The last thing is, all right, I'm gonna take out my notes. A lot of people go down there, and they've asked how they can donate. I don't have an answer for them. And I see Horse Hill has a fund right here. So I think Scholar should also have a fund. I believe it'd be very successful and save the commission money in the end.
Andy, you want?
The only board that can accept donations on behalf of the town is the town council. So if someone wants to donate, they just go through Paul's office, get on the town council agenda, present the donation, town council will vote to either approve to accept the donation or not. Town council is the only one that can do that.
And did.
And that,
And if you watch, we do it all the time. I mean, there's Boy Scouts, they'll have leftover money from one of their projects. They'll donate it, they'll come before the town council. Town council will approve to accept.
that's
It's
good.
similar to, Mike, similar to what Andy said too. I mean, I'm only speaking as one commissioner, but I have no problems approving expenditures if, if it's for, maintenance type of, maintenance
Well,
related items.
that's not it. It's, people want to donate for that specific property.
What do they
so-
want to donate though?
I don't know. They asked if they could donate. I ask for input all the time, but
But if I hear Andy correctly, that means that the town council would be the one to address the formation of a fund or the acceptance of donations for it. That's,
And wherever it goes,
Beyond
even
our
if
pay
it
grade.
was real properties, or, someone wanted to donate a bench, should go before the town council. If they want to donate funds, then that'll be up to Paul where the funds go. He'll present to the town council. They'll vote to accept or not.
Yeah, that, I don't remember the genesis of that fund for Horse Hill, but that was the reason that it started, is because there was money being donated, and they town made that fund just for that purpose. But that was,
That was a creation of the town council, not the conservation
I believe it was
commission.
part of the town council that created it initially and made it part of the Horse Hill Nature Preserve.
And it was mainly for like a snowshoe race that they did every
Oh, no,
year.
this was before that. This was
Oh.
the beginning of
That they
Horse
did,
Hill in
yeah.
itself.
So, but I think the only money that was
Yep.
had been going in over
Yep.
many, many years was just the snowshoe race, which doesn't even happen anymore.
Right.
So it probably nothing's happened probably with that fund for a
So
while.
Mike, if I'm hearing you, and you'd like to know what the subcommittee, I just want to make sure I'm hearing it clearly before we leave. You want to know what the subcommittee can do in its planned 1 to 3 year projects now? Boat launch and parking town
Yeah.
thing, we're not going to worry about that. That leaves invasive species, trails, and revegetation. Do you want the commission to okay individual things? Is that something the commission should do? Or do we just say, do what you want? How much detail do we need to authorize to the subcommittee, if any? If they leave tonight with us having seen the plan, not a vote on it, what can they do without?
Obviously,
Without
we'll
fuss.
come here if we need money for anything, but,
Yep.
and you'll know more details about a specific project from that. But this is just saying, yes, you can fill in those ruts. Yes, you can, deal with that, knotweed, stuff like that.
I'm just concerned about the invasive. I'd like to make sure we have a really, kind of a, not approved by us, but approved by like UNH Cooperative Extension or someone who's understands what needs to happen to the stumps and the actual cuttings. Cause we'd be in trouble if we start doing stuff down there and it makes it worse. So I just wanna make sure that we have something that's, I'm not a biologist, I'm not gonna be able to, you just, I have to do it, so I just think we need someone who really understands this to make sure. We can call it county forest or something like that and have them come in, or call UNH and have them come down and give us a class of what we should do. But certainly revegetation, any maintenance work on that, I'm fine with.
We good?
There was another thing I forgot.
Okay.
Oh, the bridge thing, that we had a meeting about, in June or July. What's the next step for that? Who's tracking on that?
The bridge was anything but a simple project. I know there were a lot of hurdles. It's not as simple as the old stone bridge.
Yeah. We went down and walked it with Kyle. I don't think we got a answer from the town, really, what we can do with it.
No, we know what we can't do is start adding
Right.
materials to it. We can't start adding, riffraff or shoring up the embankments. Riprap, sorry. Riprap, we're trying to keep out.
Riffraff is the cause causing the problem.
Just because if we did any of those things, any of those improvements to that bridge, we would not be doing the right things by the wetlands that abut that bridge.
Yeah.
And if done incorrectly, the wrong size riprap or the wrong size gravel, we're really actually just going to channel more erosion into those areas.
I think we probably should get with Kyle and find out what he thinks is the right way to go.
I'm trying to remember, was Nrpc gonna? No,
I don't remember.
there was someone else. Let me take the note and I'll go back and.
So on the invasives, would it be better just to bring someone in and let them handle it versus somebody that's untrained doing it?
I'd be all for that. Because it's, man, if we cause more of a problem, particularly on the Merrimack, you know, that scares, because we could be causing a problem from here down through Lowell and the Lawrence and all the way out in Amesbury. I don't want to be the one causing that problem. So
Do we know even what the right time of year to do that sort of thing is?
nope. That's what I say.
That's what I mean. Why don't we reach out to somebody that
Yeah.
does that sort of thing
And get a quote?
and say, hey, we have this problem. Can you come in and take a look at it and give us a quote?
I mean,
And then we don't have to worry about not doing the right
Yeah,
thing.
UNH does those, they have like the garlic mustard pull, and they do all these events to get rid of invasive, so I mean, they may be more than willing to send someone down here and say, yeah, schedule a day and volunteers, and we'll walk them through how to take care of this.
And
I
if
wouldn't-
not, they may say,
And they
hey,
may
here's a
probably-
company that'll
Yeah.
do it for you.
And I wonder if Merrimack River Watershed Council has worked with,
They do.
that before.
With UNH Cooperative?
They do their own, they have their own federal funding to hire contractors.
Who do they hire, do you know?
I don't know.
That's worth pursuing.
But that has to be, something has to be done, because in previous years it wasn't at the road, now it's at the road, so whoever plows that road usually pushes a good amount of it into the river, so.
Okay, why don't I reach out to UNH Cooperative Extension and get a quote or get a lead, a company that will give us a quote. And assuming I can do that. When do we meet again?
Couple weeks.
24th? I don't know if I can get it before, in time to get it on that agenda, but let me go to work on it and see what I can do. Anything else on this? Will we move on? All right, last item under new business is the.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
The potential creation of a invasive species subcommittee. Mike, you want to talk to us about that?
All right. So we all know invasive species are becoming more of a problem for various reasons. Climate change, human activity. Here is a picture of a sign on DW Highway on the way here. And you can't see half that sign until you're right on it. Town employees will go there. They're not trained to do it. They're gonna cut it and they're gonna toss it wherever. And it's gonna spread. So that's not just for this invasive. I believe an invasive species subcommittee could work with UNH, Merrimack River Watershed Council, and any other organization, create a network, map out all these locations along our roads, get public input on where it is on the town, on private properties. So we have a idea of how fast this is spreading, and to try to come up with a solution for it, and to try to get some education for public employees so they stop spreading it.
You know, there's a website to report this already.
Yeah.
EDMS or EMDS, or I'm not sure of the acronym, but it's a mapping program, and it you just enter where you are and what you're pulling, and it starts to map it so you have a network of what's there. It's pretty impressive.
And this subcommittee could promote public use of that, which would benefit the state. But mainly this is to figure out a solution for the various invasive species, encourage people to get rid of their burning bush, stuff like that. Because if we pull burning bush off of our properties, it's just going to be carried there again by birds from private properties. So public education is key to controlling that. So I think it's worthwhile.
Has this been done by other conservation commissions in the state? Do we have a model to follow?
Litchfield said they had something like it. I don't know any details about it.
Subcommittees are great. We've got several of them. The challenge is just, finding volunteers, that you worry about stretching volunteers too thin. What do you propose? Do you have a number of volunteers?
I have a
in
couple of
mind?
people in mind. 3 people in mind.
Ellen brings up a good point, though. This might be, if you're going to the annual conference on the 5th of November.
Yeah, that's one of the things
But
one to-
I thought you had signed up for it.
No, the Controlling Invasive Pests program?
Mhm. So is that where we want to go? You want to go collect additional tips, strategies there, and if you have volunteers,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I guess we can go on to other business. First item under other business is an update on Andrew Butler's fur bearer project. So Andrew Butler, for those of you who might not remember, was he was a UNH graduate student that was doing a program. He asked us to allow him to do monitoring. Most of that with scent stations and game cameras on 3 of the parcels, Scalar, Wasserman, and Greater Woods. And he did send us a thank you. This isn't the entire thing, but he said, thank you for allowing us to access town of Merrimack lands to conduct our research on fur bearers in New Hampshire. Having this access to deploy the cameras and scent stations was essential to our project being successful. From this research, we found that the camera traps were more effective way of monitoring fur bearer occurrence and distribution than the scent stations, which were only effective at detecting the most common species. We're using this information to guide a broader statewide monitoring program. We're also preparing to publish our findings in the scientific literature. Below are the species that we identified across all the cameras: bear, beaver, bobcat, cat, chipmunk, cottontail, coyote, deer, dog, fisher, gray fox, gray squirrel, snowshoe hare, possum, porcupine, raccoon, red fox, red squirrel, skunk, wild turkey, woodchuck, and weasel. Pretty extensive. He did provide us some pictures. I didn't put those in the packets. Like I said, he did ask that if we were going to share those pictures or reproduce them on our website, just that we give the credit to they had partners. It was University of New Hampshire. It was New Hampshire Fish and Game. Just to give the proper credits there.
So I don't know who's doing it now, who's managing our website now.
Tim?
No, Stephanie.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
because we had a way to post pictures to that, so gets into part of the scroll.
Some of the pictures I did see them
Yeah.
are fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely can give them props, and I'd love to get those pictures, that'd be neat.
And what Andrew and the University of New Hampshire would like to do is continue this program for another 3 years on these same 3 parcels. We didn't vote, we didn't make a motion last time, and no one objected, so I just,
Yep.
I sent him an official reply. So does anyone have a problem with this? And I said camera traps, they're not traps, they're cameras. I tried.
What
Don't want to rub anyone the wrong way.
Are they-
It's not
are they-
trapping anything. There's no conibears out there, it's just a camera.
They're not gonna trap your camera.
Is this gonna be a seasonal thing? Is it gonna be, do we know?
I don't know. I don't know. And I don't think we've asked for a lot of details. One thing I would recommend we probably don't do is when we post the picture of the fisher or whatever we put on the website, probably not tie it to a specific parcel.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't know what time of year. I don't know which parcel, which pictures came from.
No, I'm saying if they wanna continue doing this. Do they,
I think I get the sense he's done it off and on because we've been talking to Andrew for
wow, yeah.
at least a year, right? I think it was over a year ago that he came and presented this to us and asked us for permission.
Yeah.
Any questions about that?
As long as there's no volume. Right?
The last item under old business was the Nrpc mapping project, so you should have all gotten this quote in your packets. It's a draft quote. And thank you, Gage. Gage gave me some tips. I wasn't really even certain how to ask for the type of work we want done. So essentially what we're looking for is a refresh of the existing GIS maps. Those were done by Nrpc initially. In addition to that, we asked them to go and create a new map of Scalar, since that wasn't part of the original project. You can see all the costs she quoted here. I think there is one typo under number 1, under compensation. If you add those up, they add up to 3,800, not 3,850. I think that number 1 should have been $50. I don't know why they would have quoted it if it weren't 0. I think if we make a motion, I would recommend we make it for an amount not to exceed 3,850.
Okay.
I don't know if it was written here. I did ask her to include, with the work, with the project, the technical specs. So any work we do going forward, could be done to the same technical specs.
Yep.
They can't guarantee it because the Nrpc doesn't manage all trails. But she said they had done work for a few other communities in southern New Hampshire. They have, and that's why that's quoted separate as a separate line item on this quote. Have asked them to make it so it's what's the word I'm looking for? So the data can populate compatible with all trails, because that is what a lot of our our parcel users are familiar with.
So they're just gonna upload it to all trails?
We'll have the same. We'll have GIS. They'll update all our existing GIS maps and create one for Scalar. It'll have the new restrictions from Chapter
No, I mean
111.
for this line. 2,000 for
Correct.
uploading to all trails? I thought anyone could do that with the proper file.
Well, addition to OpenStreetMap and then assumed subsequent adoption by all trails. So if I'm reading this correctly, all trails is not the main purpose of the $2,000. It's OpenStreetMap, but I'm
So
not
all
familiar
trails
with that.
pulls from OpenStreetMap?
Mhm.
Okay.
If there's not a level, we don't need to make a motion. If there's not a level of comfort with this, that's another alternative. We could go back with a bunch of questions or follow-up questions, or ask for more or ask for less.
I think that I favor this as written to get going on updating these maps, and it's a step towards getting Sklar mapped, and it's time.
And in the interest of transparency, what is not included in this is Fields Farm.
Yeah.
But I think before we ask anyone to go in and create a map of Fields Farm, we need to figure out where
because
we need to resolve that, the
Field
back
Farm-
properties and where the
Yeah.
entrance is.
Yeah.
Fields Farm has been pretty heavily ridden by mountain bikes, and it's got trail maps already pretty well. You can find them.
But we're not in a position
No.
right now to map it for
No.
the town.
No, but this will be nice because this will make a map that's like the set that we have right now for the parcels.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
Like to go forward.
Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the proposal from an Nrpc as written with a drawing funds from Fund 53, right? We're gonna go, and not to exceed $3,850.
Second?
Motion by Gage, second by Cindy.
Mhm.
Anyone need further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Fantastic.
Nate?
All right. Yes, subcommittee update.
One real quick,
Mhm.
I'm sure you guys have some good pictures of some Scalar, the trifold maps we have. You might want to see if you get something that fits kind of that pamphlet face, and we could submit that to.
So take it like this?
Well, no, I'm saying any picture that's, there's something that's kind of that format, that if you think you can find a picture or something that you think is indicative of Scholar, and then we can use that as the front cover for the map.
Yeah, working in a vertical format
Yeah.
might be better.
And we all have this in our packet, but it just noteworthy here, if you take a picture, please send it to me. They did ask that what they don't want is mission creep. They don't want to have
Right.
multiple points of contact. They want to come through one person. So I promise, if you give me a prize-worthy photo, I'll send it along.
All right, so, the Greater Woods Subcommittee, we meet again, Wednesday. We're downstairs in the, conference room behind the Memorial Room. Thank you. It's a 6:30 meeting. We didn't meet last month, but we did the workday. We cleaned up the balusters on the outlook on the deck that looks out from behind the school. And we are trying to contact someone up in the new development area, because I believe that the drainage swale they put down on the backside of the ridge trail, the entrance to the ridge trail, I think there's a pipe that's cracked, because we got water bubbling up through the ground. So we just need to see if they can maybe fix that, because it's right in the middle of the trail and it's always wet, and it just doesn't need to be. It's causing too much of a,
That's Ridge Trail?
the entrance to Ridge Trail, yeah, from the school parcel. But the only thing we're working on now is if anyone's walked out there recently, we're supposed to have a 13-foot wide road. Like Woods Road goes from the school parcel all the way through to Mitchell, BB Lane, BB Lane. And that is no longer 13 feet wide. There's a lot of growth in there. So I can walk down there and easily touch both sides of the tree line. So we're trying to get the town to come in. We're gonna make a request to come in and mow that again. It needs to be brought back. So, but that's about it. We still have the bridge to build. We got some good dry weather here, so hopefully we'll see if we get that in there now.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Gage. Brings us to approval of the minutes.
I move that we accept the draft minutes from the September 12th, 2022 meeting with the following amendments.
Second.
Motion by Ellen, second by Cindy.
And I have none.
The only one I had was around row 145. I think we need to add it into the minutes that Commissioner Trippett called David Scholar to discuss the Scholar deed.
Was it Daniel? I think Daniel Sklar.
Yes.
Oh, Daniel. Yeah.
Anyone, anything else? No?
I don't have any. I think we had some.
Short meeting. All right, no further discussion. Vote to approve minutes. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
And since I was called out in the prior meeting, I do feel the need to set the record straight that I have never said that any of the Scholars said something one way or the other. There was actually 3 of them, as I'm sure you'll know if you look at the deed. This body authorizes a representative to speak on behalf of the commission. I was not authorized to speak to Scholars, nor did I want to back then. I wasn't handling any of that. So I did not talk to any of the Scholars. I have never said that I talked to any of the Scholars. You can check the minutes from probably our last meeting or the meeting before, where I said the reason that when we buy land, conservation land, We put in conservation deeds. That is what I said. So
That's referring to the comment that was made down when Fish and Game were there.
I was not at that meeting.
Good.
So you can check the minutes because I did not, I wasn't at that meeting. So I did not
And I apologize, and it was
say anything.
Ellen who made that comment.
Anyone want to make a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Cindy, second by Gage, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you all. Have a wonderful night.